off with some injuries for you guys. Akeem Hicks has a strained right hamstring right now. Um, Dwayne Harris has a we're waiting on confirmation on a torn tricep for Dwayne Harris. And then Nick, everything looked it was good so far for us looking at it. It became good news in regards to his hip slash glute. So that was good news for us. It wasn't as bad as we once thought. So he'll be working through that here as we go and keep an eye on that kind of day to day. So those are the three guys that I wanted to update with you with the injuries. In regards to the game, everything that I thought from last night and me seeing what I saw on the sideline was real. I did think, and I'll get to this with the offense, number one with the defense, the 3.2 yards per carry, holding Dalvin Cook to that, I thought was a good job there. Roquan Smith flying around, 14 tackles. That's been a consistent theme all year long with him. I'm proud of him. Special teams, CP's kickoff return for a touchdown, the field position, the punts, all that, everything there was good. We did have the drop fumble on the punt return, which was a momentum swinger, but our defense got the sudden change stop there. Cairo going for 2 and hitting 14 in a row, I think is a story that's obviously being covered up right now with some of the other struggles. And then offensively, the one thing I thought, just looking at our offensive line on first and second down, number one, I thought the run game was better. I did feel that in the first half, just with the couple times that we did ended up hitting those 4 or 5 yard runs. Second down was real. We weren't very good there on second down. I thought there were some missed opportunities early in that game that we did not hit on that we could have. And then, on third down, some of the stuff with protections, they did a good job schematically against us and forced us into not being able to get completion. So for us as a team right now, the one thing that I'll hang our hat on is the strength of our team, is our culture. I think that's very important in times like this, is that we understand where we're at and why we've gotten to this point. It's my job as the head coach to make sure that we understand why. And so we'll do that here the next couple of days. And then, like I said, bye week is coming at the right time for us mentally and physically to get healthy, to figure out solutions and answers, to not hide anything and see what's real, and then have a mentality as a coach and have a mentality as a player to lick your wounds, pick it up, and get right back on track. And that's what I think, like from our guys last night in that locker room, the way they were talking and the way Eddie was talking, I appreciated that because it's authentic, it's organic, and it's real. And it comes a time where there comes a time where it's time, and we're there right now. So with that, I'll open it up.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Matt, 2 questions, of course. Number one, is Nick going to be able to avoid IR? And number 2, do you have to make a decision for the Packers game, whether you might want to switch quarterbacks regardless of health?
So I would say right now, the IR thing, I don't see that happening. I feel pretty good with him there. And then in regards to both guys right now, with Mitch and him, they're both a little banged up. So that's the number one thing that we have to look at. And then what we'll do, Pat, in complete honesty, is we'll take this bye week here again, and we will self-scout ourselves, and we will see the wheres and the whys, and whatever we need to do, we will do on a lot of different areas. So I can't say one way or the other on anything other than we will when you lose 4 games in a row, it's all on the table. Everything's out there. So, but the number one thing with Nick and with Mitch that we are concerned about right now is making sure that their health is the number one priority, and that'll be significant here moving forward.
Dan Wiederer.
Matt, 2 quick things. You mentioned glute with Nick. Is that a strain or a bruise kind of thing there?
That's a good question. I think it's probably more of probably a little bit of both. I think there's a contusion and a strain. It's kind of hard. They were working on him last night. Here's how I look at it. I was in there when they were working on him, and it definitely seemed a lot better than what I thought. When I was on the field, I thought it was going to be a lot more significant, and you just never know. So he's been hit a few times, and I think it's in any case, whatever the definition of, it's a lot better than I thought.
The other thing, your first red zone trip stalled out with a third down play where Anthony and Cole seemed to have some confusion on what was going on there. Can you clarify what went wrong in that route combination?
Yeah. So on that one, Cole's he has a different route on that, just to give you, without giving away all the actual route, he has a different route. So Anthony was correct. And that was something where Cole was going to run a different route.
Kevin Fishban.
Matt, you mentioned some of the third down stuff and some of the things that the Vikings were throwing at you. What else did you kind of notice from your offense that just was leading to some of those struggles in terms of picking up what the Vikings were throwing at you and not being able to convert on third down?
I would say this. I would say for me, what we've known until we stop it, you're seeing teams that are doing a lot of different games on the front line, and they're trying to get you to twist and turn and get your offensive linemen to get off course and off track so that they can create an edge and some leverage and get some lanes to the quarterback. So I felt like there were some times where that happened, where they got us, and other times where whether it's stepping up in the pocket or moving, sliding left, throwing right, sliding right, throwing left, etc. That happened as well. So there were some times in there now where our offensive line was doing a good job and giving time for us to make plays. And there was a couple of times where they got us. And so we just got to focus on that and make sure we're picking and choosing at the right time. And I think I said it last night, there were some times where we were in 5-man protection where they got us, and that's what we got to fix.
Brad Biggs.
Hey, Matt, the hit that Nick got injured on, how'd that look to you? I mean, does a flag come out there? They do an awful lot of stuff to protect the quarterback these days, and you see some hits that don't look quite as vicious as that they do throw a flag on.
Well, yeah, I would say there was a couple where I've watched throughout the league, where you see some hits on that position, and it is. I didn't think on that one. That was just me. I didn't see that for there. I think it is because what I try to do, Brad, is I try to flip it and say, okay, if that was us on defense and we hit the quarterback that way, would I have expected one to come out there on our guys? And that's how I always try to balance it. But there's throughout the game, again, I always know that these refs have a tough job at some of the rules that are in there. And he landed on that thing pretty hard on that one. And Nick's a big guy, 255, 60 pounds, and when that comes down, you get hit like that. That can be pretty painful.
Mark Potash.
Hey, Matt, you've changed quarterbacks this year. You changed play callers. You revamped the offensive coaching staff. You rebuilt the tight end room. At this stage of the season, what more can you do to kind of get this thing back on track? It just seems like you're running out of options, I guess.
Yeah, I would say the one thing for us is that, trying to figure out solutions as we go. And you're right. Those things that we've done are real. And what we need to do now is, as coaches, is have a mentality of understanding, okay, continue to just keep trying to figure out the why part and how, what is that? And at some point, something has to click at some point, you would think. So, there's two choices. You either quit or you fight. And I know what we're going to do. I don't think I have to say it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to attack it full speed ahead. And that's the only decision that anybody in this building will do while I'm here as a leader of this team and as a leader of the coaches and as a leader of the players. They understand that we're going to fight and we're going to see what happens. I've been a part of other teams and other organizations where we've had similar records at this point in time right now, and we've made a run and got into the playoffs and hit it with some good momentum. And I've seen other teams too at this point in time that have done the same thing. And so that's the only way that I know how to look at this thing is, how do you do that? You get a win, and then you get another win, and then you get another, and then when the time's right, then your arrow is going up rather than down. And so that's what we're going to focus on. But we're going to find a way, and we're going to fight until that happens.
JJ,
Matt, kind of along those lines, do you have to worry at all though about just the mental toll that it takes on a team to have 2 consecutive years with 4-game losing streaks?
No, because when you have a strong culture, this is what you're built for. And I mean that, bad cultures, this thing would get destroyed in a bad culture. Not here. That's not how it works here. So that's why I have ultimate confidence in our coaches and in our players. I just know it. And so when you keep fighting, a punch will normally land. And if it's a good one, it's a nice little uppercut and it knocks them out. Then you get another one the next, and then it's a body shot, and you just keep throwing them. And that's all you can do. And, you stay strong, you stay the course. There's a fine line in trying to change too many things, but yet you still you have that line of the definition of insanity, right? Doing it over and over and expecting different results. So, when you have high character guys and strong culture, you find answers and you fight together, not against each other. And then you stay positive. You really stay positive. And sometimes that can be hard. Let's face it, right? It's not fun coming in and not winning a game in 4 weeks. That's not fun. That's not fun. If it's fun for you or if it's okay for you, then you probably shouldn't be on this team. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to work every single day, and I'm going to make sure that everybody has that fighter's mentality. And that's what we do. That's how we roll. And, we just keep going.
Colleen Kane,
Hey, Matt, when you went back and watched Cordero's touchdown, what impressed you about that? And then just how frustrating was it for you guys not to be able to build on that momentum that gave you?
Yeah, I love seeing the touchdown. I've been challenging CP in a good way all season long. And so, to have him be able to return that, and for the guys to fit their blocks the right way, and for CP to hit one, we needed that. That was a huge momentum deal. You felt really good there going up 13-6. You could kind of just feel it swinging, and the energy on the sideline was awesome. And then, that's where, again, having that field position right after that and not being able to capitalize, that's the part that frustrates you. And so, we were in great position yesterday to take over that game and run with it and get that win. And we didn't do it.
Jason Leisure,
Matt, how do you think Bill did? And are you going to give him more than just one game to figure this out?
Yeah, no, I thought he did well. Again, it's hard on second down when you're not doing a whole lot. And I just felt like there in that first half, we had those couple drives where he was really getting into a rhythm, and then we stalled in the red zone. And then we got that momentum, and at the end of the half, and we dumped one down to Anthony for 22 yards, and then we stalled. And so it's not easy your first time. And I talked to him. Trust me, Bill Lazor's a competitor. He cares. I mean, it was hard on him last night after the game. It's hard on him this morning. It's hard on him all night. When you care that much, you want to find answers, you want to fix it. And so we're going to do that together, and we're going to work through this bye week. And I thought that he did a good job, and he knows he wants to be better. We want to be better, but we all got to be better. And so we just keep doing it together.
Andy,
Yeah, Matt, just to clarify then, he will call plays against Green Bay?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're at right now. I'm never going to right now say anything is for sure, for different reasons, because we got time here. But I think that with where we're at, I don't think it's in a good position to give him one game and then, this happens and all of a sudden you're going back the other way. So, yeah, I expect him to be calling the plays. And for us, what we need to do, where I think it lies, right? I think it lies in making sure that we as a staff and we as players are all doing a better job Monday through Saturday of making sure we're all, practicing hard, we're scheming the right way. And then on game day, right? Yeah, we're calling plays, but at the same point in time, there's an execution element as well. And so it's that balance of everybody understanding where we're at,
couple more. Deion Miller,
Matt, it feels like you guys have been self-scouting for weeks now, and you were 5-1 and now you're at 5-5. Is there a part of you that's surprised you're in this position? And does this 4-game losing streak, after all the changes you made, feel different than last year when you were in this similar position?
That's a good question, Dion. I think that it's a little different self-scout when you're in the bye week than when you're in these shortened weeks or you're in a normal week. Just you can't, like, you can look at certain things and try to have an answer here or there, try something schematically or see what fits. But right now, what we're going to be able to do is literally take this whole entire week and break down who we are as an offense and the whys in every category. You know, red zone, third down, short yardage, goal line, backed up, 4 minute, 2 minute. What's going on? And that's where it's our job to make sure that we're seeing any trends, good or bad, and get rid of the bad and keep the good. So we have a little bit more time. It's different. But we gotta do it so that we, whatever that identity is that we get to here coming up for after the bye against Green Bay, we'll stick with that, and we're gonna see where it takes us.
Adam Hogue.
Hey, Matt, understanding that you're pretty happy with where your culture is at, Eddie Jackson's comments last night at least signified that there's room for improvement. He mentioned accountability over and over again, and specifically mentioned how some players might be coming to the sideline, hanging their head, and no one's speaking up to pick them up. How did you evaluate those comments, and I guess how that mixed with his message to the team too after the game?
Sure. Yeah. And everybody kind of handles different success and failures to a play and a drive or a series as they come to the sideline. But I think that what I liked about what Eddie said, and that's what leaders do. I mean, we talk about leaders create leaders. Well, he's being a leader after the game at a tough moment when we're all pretty emotional, we're all pretty frustrated, we're all pretty pissed off. And for him to step up into that huddle and say, hey, listen, here's where we're at. I think what that does is that word accountability is so important. If you don't have accountability as a player, you're going to struggle. And when you have that accountability on yourself and you say, you know what, everything starts with me. Where can I get better? And where did I do well or where did I do poorly? But at the same time, you know, there's that emotional element too on the sideline. And when things are going well, where are you? And when things are going bad, where are you? So I think that's kind of what he was getting to. And regardless of which side you play on, and with him being a leader on defense, I think it speaks to him to be able to talk to our team and then specifically to our offense and say, listen, you know, here's where we're at. We got your back, right? But there's an accountability for us to play better there, specifically, obviously, on offense. So, you know, I think you guys can all understand. They hear my voice all the time. The players do. And so when they hear my voice all the time, sometimes if you do too much talking as a leader, it becomes deaf tone and they mute you out, right? So there's a balance as a leader as to how much talking you do with your players. And you can pick and choose when you're going to pull a card out and use it. Well, when a player talks, and a player to Eddie's magnitude, right? When they talk, in my opinion, I think that's 10 times as much as what I say. And so I hope that some of our players take that to heart and understand where he's coming from. And I want more of that. I love that. I want more of it. But that's what we're going to. It's not personally. It's not an attack personally. It's task related. That's what I liked about it.
Last one, Stacey Dales.
Coach, thank you for your candor. You know, just in watching Nick, he's either fleeing, it seems that so often, fleeing from the pocket or trying to with his legs or fleeing with his arm. The root so much starts with the offensive line. Obviously COVID an issue, but how do you rectify the problems starting with the offensive line? And then being, you know, with the bye week so critical, you know, you can come out one way or the other. What is your plan heading into the bye?
Yeah. Hey, Stacey. That's for us. That's going to be a big part of where we go here moving forward. I think number one, health-wise is going to be very significant to us. Yeah, we've hit a little patch here of some health between COVID and other injuries. And what we got to do too is just as I talk about the self-scout schematically, what we're doing as an offense. We're also going to have every coach is going to be grading each and every player individually. And so specifically when we talk about the offensive line, we've had some moving parts there. And I think what we need to do is make sure, are we putting our best players in the best position to make this unit go the way it's supposed to go. And so we'll you know, to your original comment with Nick, in this game, when you play quarterback, and it doesn't matter any level, run game is very important and pass protection is very important for the quarterback position. Now, all of that moves hand in hand with play actions and screens and other elements of the game, but you need to have that. What I think has happened to our offense this year is it's either the run game's on and the protection is a little off, or vice versa, or the protection's on, right? And there's a little bit of an issue there because it hasn't been on as to, you know, where we're going with our decision making. You understand? And so I think what we got to do is get back to that point where, okay, run, play action, movement, screens, creating an identity, trust, all of that is in unison, as well as eliminating penalties. I thought we were better with the penalties, but we weren't good enough with the field position we had and with the red zone. And so I also will say this. I thought our offensive line yesterday, with regards to some of the things they did well on defense on third down, for the most part, I would say that our offensive line played better than I thought they did at the end of the game yesterday. Once I watched the tape, I thought they played better.
Eddie, I'm wondering if you could take us through your feelings both during and immediately after Cordero's kick return there to start the second half.
Oh man, that was a game changer, momentum changer for sure, for us. And it's so crazy because Champ called out on the sideline. If they kick it at 84, it's going to the house. So that made it a more special moment. And just to see, CP do the things he's been doing since he came over here. He's an athlete. You can put him at running back, receiver, kick return, punt return, or whatever. But he came through in a time when we really needed him.
How frustrating is it to not be able to fully capitalize on that return and 2 takeaways and everything else you guys did defensively tonight?
Man, it's frustrating. We can't hide that, but at the same time, it's a team. It's a team game, so we got to continue to rally together. Depend on one another. Hold each other accountable. If you see your teammate with his head down, we got to speak up. Lift up. Lift your head up. It's the next play. You know what I mean? So we just gotta change our attitude as a whole unit. Holding each other accountable. Like I just said, if you see somebody with their head down, speak to him. No matter what type of ball, what side of the ball he's on. We just need more of that type of leadership.
JJ.
Eddie, how wearing is it on you guys though to now have 4-game losing streaks in consecutive seasons?
Bro, I mean it's tough. It's really tough. Like, we tired of it. And like I said, it's up to us, as a team to change it. The coach is not going to always call the perfect calls, the best call. You know what I mean? It's for us to go out there and execute to the best of our ability. And when everybody start to understand that, then we'll go far. But right now, if we don't do that, holding each other accountable, going out there and not minding what's the call, what's came in, just do our job.
Deion Miller.
Eddie, what was the locker room like after this game and the conversations that guys were having, knowing you have a couple weeks now to kind of figure out how you want to finish this season?
It was tough. You can see it in a lot of guys' eyes that how bad we wanted this, how bad we want this season. Like I said, pound for pound, player for player, roster. If you look at the names on the roster, man, we probably got some of the best guys in the league. So it's not, that we can't do it. We just got to go out there and execute better. And right now it's just time for everybody to really take, a reality check. Take this time, this bye week to look at yourself. How can you improve? What you need to fix? No matter what it is. And we got to continue to do that. We got to continue to come out here, get rid of the mistakes, limit the mistakes that we do, and just go out there and continue to fight, man. No matter what's the score, how much time left, we got to continue to fight.
Matt Zahn.
Eddie, when one side of the ball is struggling, like your offense clearly is, how hard is it to avoid, finger pointing or stuff like that on a team?
I mean, we don't got that here. It's simple. We need to hold each other accountable. Like I said, we got a lot of great leaders on this team. So for us, we just got to hold each other accountable. Offensive side of the guys, our leaders, we got to hold each other accountable on the side of the ball like we would on defense. And it's that simple. Like I keep saying, man, it starts with accountability. You know, if you're not accountable for your actions and the plays you don't or can, you know, make, it's not going to work. It's not going to work out. It's that simple. So for us, we just got to continue to fight, rally around each other, and just hold each other accountable.
A few more for Eddie. Chris, Emma.
Eddie, Coach Nagy said after the game in the locker room, a couple players broke it down together and offered a message. Can you tell us who are the people who broke it down for you guys, and what was the message offered?
You know, I broke it down after the game, if that's what you're talking about. And the message was just like I was telling you, just accountability, you know, speaking to each other, you know, being that voice on both sides of the ball. You know, we got a lot of guys on, you know, both sides of the ball that can speak up, that has a powerful voice, but I feel like kind of afraid to use it. You know, you can't be afraid to use your voice. You know what I mean? If you're a leader on this team, guys look up to you. You got to use it, you know, regardless of what the coach think or whatever, whoever thinks, you know, you got to use your voice. You got to hold each other accountable. Like I said, you see guys come off the field, they head down. No one says something. No one says nothing to them. You know, that has to change. If you see somebody holding his head, oh, we're a team. It's not going to go perfect. You know, you see these 4 weeks, it's not going to be perfect. So if you see a guy with his head down, lift your head up. Come on, next play. You know, have that mindset, you know, that next play mentality that no matter how bad it gets, we're going to continue to fight, you know, and that's what we need to fix right now.
Dan.
Eddie, but how challenging is that when you don't have an ability on the defensive side of the ball to fix what's been a 2-season-long offensive struggle? And no matter how much accountability you hold, you can't fix what's been the glaring weakness for 2 years.
I mean, it's tough, you know, it's tough, but like we go out there every week knowing we're going to accept this challenge to put this thing on our back. You know, we got guys like Keen, Mac, Danny, me, Roquan, Cal Fuller, you know, a lot of guys, you know, that really sit up here and hold each other accountable. And we accept the challenge. Like, we don't care what offense do. We don't care if they put no points on the board. All we know is if the opposing team don't score, they don't win. So for us, we want to continue to accept that challenge week in, week out. And like I said, it's a team sport. You know, you can't do it without the offense. The offense can't do it without the defense. So we just got to go out there, like I said, hold each other accountable and continue to fight. It starts in practice, and it starts when you get down in the game. You know, if you're not getting the ball, you got to eliminate all the selfishness on the team and continue to play for one another, because it's going to take all of us, and we know it. You know, at this point, like I said, roster for roster, name for name, pound for pound, we got some of the best players hands down, you know, and we just got to learn how to communicate better and hold each other accountable and be there for your brother when he needs you the most.
Last one, Colleen.
Eddie, what are the emotions that the team's going through when you guys see Nick get carted off the field?
It's tough, you know, it's one of those, you know, breath takers, especially to see Nick, you know, a guy like him with his leadership, his ability, you know, what he brings to this offense and his team, you know, in this organization. So you never want to see your brother go down or any player go down. So, you know, we just wish the best. And we just hope it's not that serious. You know, I talk to him, you know, whatever, see him limping around, but, you know, we just pray for the best.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
CP, when you got the ball on that kickoff there, can you tell us what you saw, particularly on that first hole you hit to spring clear?
I mean, honestly, I just got to give it up to those 10 guys, man, that was blocking for me, man. They did a heck of a job, man. And, you know, we work it every week, man. You know, every week at practice, man, we just, every time we get the ball, we want to go out there and kick our return and score. So, you know, the boys did a heck of a job. You know, they had a lane open for me that no way I could have missed it. So, you know, it got through, you know, and we got the touchdown.
You were able to throw the peace sign up, it looked like, there at the end?
I don't know what I did, man. I was blacked out at the time.
JJ.
Cordero, I'm curious as a competitor how you balance the feeling you have of your personal accomplishment, where there's never been anyone who's returned more kickoffs for touchdowns in the NFL and NFL history than you. On the other hand, coming in a loss like this in a game where, you know, you guys weren't able to, you scored the only touchdown in this game. How do you balance that?
Honestly, that just means I need to do more. You know, I hold myself accountable, you know, to go out there every time, like I said, and score a touchdown. So I got to do more for my team, you know, and get my team better situation to score more touchdowns every time I touch the ball.
Deion Miller.
What are the emotions when you see Nick being carted off the field after the offense struggles the way they did tonight?
Oh, it's bad, man. You know, you never want to see anybody go down, you know, my team or the other team, but, you know, being a part of that, man, it hurts, man. You know, you know how much work Nick put in each and every day. You know, the grind he put in. So to see a guy like that goes down, man, it's heartbreaking, man. So I just wish the best for him and his family. You know, just keep praying for him and hope everything works out.
Pat Finley.
Cordero, what does this do to everybody's mindset going into the bye? And what's your feeling on where the season is right now?
I mean, first of all, we got to get healthy, man. You know, it's a long season, man. You know, and you know we lost 4 in a row. It's not going how we wanted to, man. Offense, we just got to step up, man. We're not good enough right now. Everybody see that, you know, and it's no secret. Offense not doing good enough, so we just got to keep stepping up, man, and you know, just playing better because defense, they playing lights out each and every week. You know, they setting us up every time, you know, to score points and you know and get the win, and we just not coming out on top. So this bye week is going to be real crucial for a lot of people to get healthy, you know, and just keep staying focused on doing the right thing and just staying healthy, like I say.
Steve Leventhal.
So is it a sign of fear, a sign of respect? How do you feel when a team changes their kicking strategy, their kickoff strategy to kick away from you or to kick it short?
Honestly, man, I really don't even know how to answer that question, man, because I want them to kick it to me each and every time. You know, like I say, every time I touch the ball, my only goal is to score. You know, it's nothing less but score a touchdown and help my team out.
Couple more. Joe Lewis.
Yeah, Cordero, with you being involved in the running game throughout the season, but essentially being the feature back for today, what did you prepare for during the week to get you prepared for this role?
I mean, it's football at the end of the day, man. It's something I've been doing my whole life, you know, and when my number is called, you know, I just try to go up there and just try to make a play for my team. But like I say, man, I didn't do enough, you know, and this bye week is going to be crucial for a lot of players and me, you know, just trying to stay on top of everything. So next week or whenever we play, you know, just try to come out and do more for my team.
Thanks, Cordero.
Thank you.
Hey, Roquan, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I guess, you know, just how do you guys not get too frustrated, you know, after going from 5-1 to 5-5 and just the way things have sort of kind of spiraled out of control a little bit for you guys?
It's just adversity at the end of the day. We just can't hang our heads. It is what it is. Nothing we can do to go back and change anything that has happened this season. You just have to ride the highs, and when you're in a low, you just have to keep fighting until you come back on top. And I'm confident in this squad that we'll get things back on track. So all we can do is just keep working and keep getting better and just taking this bye week and taking it a chance to really look ourselves in the mirror and see who we really are and how we want to finish our season. Lewis.
Yeah, hey, Roquan. It seemed like the majority of the chunk plays for the Vikings were in the middle of the field. What looks were they giving you all on offense that allowed that to happen?
They was just like finding soft spots, and, you know, they did what they had to do. And it was good plays. So good plays on their behalf. Can't hang our heads on that. We just have to go to the next play and can't dwell on the past at the end of the day.
And leader.
Roquan, what did you see on your sack to get free there?
You know, it really don't mean much right now coming up since we lost, but it was just basically back tried to block me or whatever, just went through the back and just made a play.
Roquan, overall, what's the challenge of getting stop after stop after stop and then being back on the field within 2 minutes and 2 seconds most of the time?
At the end of the day, we have to control what we can control, and that's our output. That's what we do when we get out on the field. Can't control how much we're out on the field or how less we're out on the field. Just do our jobs when we're out on the field, and that's just what it is at the end of the day.
Colin King.
Roquan, what's going through your guys' heads when you see Nick go down with an injury?
Prayers up for the guy. God busts his tail day in and day out. So hoping this guy comes out on top, and I'll be praying for him and wishing him and his family the best. And I'm sure he'll fight his tail off to get back with us.
Joe Lewis.
Roquan, after several weeks of not having a turnover on defense, you all turned it up quite a bit with 2 today. Do you all feel like you all need to create more turnovers if you all want to win more games after the bye?
Absolutely. Turnovers help win games. So the more turnovers you have, the more likely you are to win. So the turnover margin is definitely critical, and we just gotta focus on getting more. And at the end of the day, I'm sure they'll come. When they come in bunches, but we can't focus on trying to forcing turnovers over and over, and then we'll get beat. So we just have to do our job and let them come to us when they come.
Roquan, what was the feeling on the sideline when Cordero busted that kickoff to open the second half?
It was a pretty exciting feeling, knowing that guy. He's a big play guy, and knowing when the guy has the ball in his hand, anything can happen. So he made a big time play, and that's what big time players do. So hats off to that guy.
Yeah, so just start off, big picture. Obviously, we struggled mightily on offense and having the 4 3-and-outs. In the second half, we had field position. We couldn't convert on that in the red zone. And so I just, it overshadows how well I thought our defense played and the different sudden changes that they had, how well our special teams played. I was proud of those guys. So 2 out of the 3 parts right now are playing well. And it's been a constant theme for us. And, the field position to me has been a struggle to us this year. That was not the case tonight. So, in these type of positions, when you get a chance, even at the end of the game there, to go in and get a touchdown, and with them missing an extra point wins it. It's been the same stuff over and over.
Jeff Dickerson.
Hey, Matt, I'm sure with everything going on offensively, the last thing you wanted to see was Nick get hurt like that at the end of the game. Obviously, first of all, is he doing okay? Is there any update you could share with us, and kind of what's going through your mind as that's all happening?
Yeah, no, it's you take a step back and you just like you just said, you get a guy that's we're all going through a lot right now, and then at the end to get injured like that, they're still looking at him. It was his leg or his hip. So I think they're still working through the details on that. I have not talked to him yet in the locker room. I will here after we're done and just make sure he's okay. I know he's upset. It's been frustrating. It's been hard, and that's the part that's difficult through all this, because no one wants it more than him to be out there to fight with his teammates. So we'll keep an eye on that. And again, it's this bye is coming at a good time for us. We're a little bit beat up right now, so we need to be able to get some guys back and get healthy.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Matt, what can you do to make sure that this bye doesn't send your guys into a funk? You haven't won a game in a month.
Yeah.
I know you're positive, but how do you stay positive?
Yeah, no, by just persistence over resistance. We had some guys break it down in the locker room at the end of the game there, and I was impressed with what they had to say. And again, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it goes to show the character of that we're fighters. And as hard as it is, and as frustrating, and like you said, you haven't won in a month. We got to just keep using that persistence over resistance and just keep fighting and keep staying together. And eventually something here, will hopefully change. And I think that's where we got to believe and trust and keep playing for each other.
Dan Wiederer.
Matt, to finally get some takeaways and then also a couple punt returns that gave you plus field position, what is your level of frustration of not being able to turn that into anything?
Yeah, it's high. It's high, Dan, because as you all know, this whole season, we've been doing really well in defense. We've been struggling a little bit with the field position. We're letting teams kick field goals, not giving up touchdowns, and that's great. And that's what feels good. But we weren't getting so many turnovers and takeaways. We really put a huge emphasis on that all week long. And to get those early on in the game and get the field position on those. And then defensively, we've been challenging CP, and these guys have been taking it to heart to get a touchdown on a kickoff return, and we got one. And so that's the part when that's frustrating, is we do all that, we have field position, and we still can't capitalize. That's the part that the why part,
Adam Hogue.
Hey, Matt, do you know right now if Mitch will be available to you after the bye week? And then second question, just what was your evaluation of the offense from your position on the sideline this week, not calling the plays?
Yeah. So I don't know yet about Mitch. I think I hate to say, I think there's a possibility, but I don't know that for sure. I think it's going to be day by day. I don't know if he knows that. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Obviously, with Nick's status, we'll have to see where that's at as we go. But you know, we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll, again, like I said, with the bye week coming at the right time, this is when we would need it to come. And then my perspective from watching from the sideline is I thought we had a couple good drives in the first half that we didn't capitalize into touchdowns, which I got to go back and watch the tape. I know on the 1 3rd down they brought cover 0, and you know, we missed the one route. But what I felt today on the sideline, I felt that we struggled on 2nd down. I felt that 2nd down was not good to us, where we might get 4 or 5 yards in the run game, which has been a lot better than what we've been doing in the run game. And it's put us in, at times, 2nd and 4, and 2nd and 4 was turning into 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4, and we weren't capitalizing on those down and distances. And so that to me is what it felt like, in particular in that 2nd half.
Deion Miller.
Matt, you weren't sure how you were going to feel coming onto the field knowing you weren't calling the plays. Can you just talk a little bit about the emotions that you felt, and then how that changed as the offense continued to struggle and you really couldn't do anything about it?
Yeah, so initially it is so new to me when I'm going out there and just understanding that, you know, I'm not calling the plays. And you know, what it does enable you to do is see some different things that you don't see when, you know, from in between plays, or maybe it's right after a drive, a team's coming off the field and you're looking for somebody to talk to or congratulate, that you're able to do that now where I wasn't before. It was different. And it took a little bit for me to get used to, but then I kind of felt comfortable in that role and was feeling it. Then you get down kind of into that 4th quarter when, you know, it's 19-13, and, you know, we were struggling a little bit with some of those drives, but that just comes down to that trust, right? In this moment, and understanding and being able to help as much as possible. And like I said, I did not want to make Bill feel like I was on his shoulder the whole game, and I didn't do that. We just went and played, and so it was different for me, certainly.
Mark Potash. Mark Potash.
Yeah, Matt. With regard to the switch into play callers, did Bill calling plays, did that in effect kind of throw you off your game a little bit, or did it just seem like it was a detriment? What impact do you think that had, making the switch as you did?
No, I don't think so. I think, you know, this has been something that for us has been going on, you know, most of this season, and you know, we're just trying to get to a point to let the reason why we did it, right? Why we ended up doing this last week, like we said, or the beginning of this week, was just because we felt like we were, you know, struggling to get into that rhythm, and we weren't taking advantage, and we weren't scoring touchdowns, and we just, you know, we were, but we were scoring them too late, and we weren't getting touchdowns on the front end. And so I think you could see it, you know, obviously it was repetitive today. It was still happening. So not only for the players' health right now, but for us as a coaching staff, we need to make sure that we're really honestly going back now and saying, okay, you know, what's going on and where are we at now that we have some time to really see. And then the other thing that's important too, guys, is I think that when you get into these bye weeks, it's very, very important to talk to your players as well, and just really find out, okay, we have this final part of the season and we want to turn things around, and get input from your players. What's their suggestions? What's their thoughts? And then you kind of take that and figure out what's best for your team. And that's what I am going to do as a head coach and as a guy on offense. I'm going to find out a lot from our players. I'm going to talk to them individually.
Couple more for Coach. Jason Leisure.
Matt, 2 questions for you on Foles. It was a jarring scene to see the cart out there and the entire team. Did you get a sense right away this was a very serious injury? And secondly, seemed like he was running for his life and getting hit all night. Were you holding your breath, hoping that something like this wouldn't happen?
Yeah. So, you know, when I got out there right away, I wasn't sure what it was. I didn't know if it was like his ribs or his shoulder or what. And then when I saw the amount of pain that he was in, on the ground. I hope he's okay, but he was in a lot of pain, and he's a tough dude, and he was in a lot of pain. And when you see that you're down there with him, you feel for him just because you don't know how good or bad it is. So that part's hard. Again, the protection and where we're at was getting the ball out, quick game, getting the ball out in scat protection, getting the ball out with max protection. That's something that we once again got to look at and make sure, like, where are we at right now, and how are we doing this, and all that.
It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles. WCPT. WCPT.
This the coldest sports show. You were getting the hour from 6 p.m. to 7. Chillin' with Lauren Cox and the man Marvelous. Shout out to Mr. Riles and the Italian style. You want sports is the only politic.
WCPT. WCPT. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles.
If our team can be better because of this move, and I don't know that, but if we can, then darn it, that's what we need to do, and that's what I need to do, and that's my job as a head coach. And there's a lot of great head coaches out there in this league that don't call plays as well, and have done it a long time, that I have a lot of respect for. So that's just a part of this job that I signed up for, and I have to make these decisions, and it just really makes it a lot easier when you have people that you believe in, and at the same point in time, for me, I do feel like right now this is the time. One of the things that we've been discussing all week is, you guys have talked about is the play calling, and I just wanted to let everybody know that, I made the decision to go ahead and pass up the play calling, and I'm going to give it to Bill Laser. So it's a decision that I made. We've been talking about as a staff, and I said to you guys the last couple of days, keeping it internal, and a lot of that was for really the idea for us to collaborate as to where we're at and how can we be better as a staff, how can we be better as a team. And as you all know, it's very, very important for me to make sure that I'm doing everything I possibly can to make the best decision for the Chicago Bears.
Let's make the best decision for you, the Chicago Bears. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're broadcasting live, streaming from the illustrious studios of WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago, in the fantastic neighborhood of Jefferson Park. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. What's up, Chicago?
The Rewind Sports 60. We are broadcasting live from WCPT AM Studios 820 AM on the fastest conversation in sports. I'm Lauren Cox, your host, and I'm here with my wonderful, amazing team. Dan Marver, the marvelous one, and Jerry Riles. the amazing Jerry Riles. Give us a call, 773-763-9278. Again, that's 773-763-9278. Dan, I want to get right into sports. Some amazing things happen in baseball. I wanted to get your opinion on a couple of things. White Sox manager Tony La Russa being charged with driving under the influence, and then that historic GM Marlins. They went ahead and hired the assistant GM for the Yankees and the Dodgers, and she was also a high-ranking exec with the White Sox. The first female GM in the MLB, NBA, and the NFL. So we want to get your opinion on those two things. Kim Ainge, what do you think about what was going on in baseball this week, Dan?
Baseball, okay. Well, I think it's certainly about time that a woman, female, takes over as a baseball organization. I mean, it's long overdue in terms of that's concerned. And Tony La Russa, I mean, he had his World Series ring. I didn't know if he was going to try to bribe the officer with it, but he did. He did mention that he was a World Series winner to the officer, apparently. But I'm just interested to see how Bill Lazor does this week calling the plays without Montgomery in the offense.
So well, you know we're going to get to that. Jesus Christ.
So those are some of the things I was thinking about. But, like I say, you raise a good point with La Russa, and it's they knew about this issue when they hired him, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But
was it like a week before he got hired?
It was within days, I thought, according to what I heard. But we'll see what happens. I mean, there's been no penalty in terms of the White Sox, and I don't know what penalty he'll get from the legal system on this. So we'll have to wait and see.
Wait a minute, Joe. So what did you guys? What's the question that you asked when
La Russa?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean,
you know he got charged.
No, I know that. I'm asking. You asked him a question. When did it happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't happen like a week before.
No, it happened a long time ago.
Yeah. The initial encounter happened in February.
February.
Okay.
Yeah. The initial encounter happened in February, of course, but it was just reported, last week.
Okay.
After the fact that the White Sox hired him.
Right.
Right. And so it came out, and that's what all the uproar was all about, the fact that how could the White Sox hire this guy who it's his second DUI?
Isn't there usually a penalty between February and October in this thing, if there was going to be one? That's the thing that puzzled me.
What do you mean a penalty?
I mean a penalty from the judicial system for Mr. La Russa for an offense in February. That's the thing that I couldn't figure out.
It's different states, of course. Okay. It happened in Arizona. Okay. So I would imagine for each state, each jurisdiction has whatever,
Okay, penalties
or whatever the case may be regarding, the crime. But the fact of the matter is that Tony La Russa. Now, I need to ask the question. I really do.
Tell it.
First of all, I mean, it's bad, it's unacceptable, and it's inexcusable.
Yeah.
And the White Sox unfortunately knew about the situation. They knew about the situation, and they turned a blind eye, or whatever the case may be. And maybe that was part of the reason that General Manager Rick Hahn had some repercussions as far as the announcement and hiring of Tony La Russa to succeed Ricky Renteria as the White Sox next manager, is the fact that they knew that this was going to surface sooner or later. But of course, Jerry Reinsdorf, it's his team, so he can do whatever he wants to, and he has a great relationship with Tony La Russa. But Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn and people in the front office, I'm sure they knew that this was going to surface sooner or later, and that's why I think you kind of saw it wasn't consensus as far as the hire was concerned. And of course, the news came out regarding Tony La Russa and the fact that it was his second offense. And then of course we get information that he's like, hey, take a look at my ring. Don't you know who I am? I'm the great Tony La Russa. I'm a World Series manager. I'm a Hall of Famer. Are you guys nuts? Are you guys crazy?
Are you crazy? And and you talk about his great relationship, Jerry, the amazing Jerry Riles. You talk about his relationship with Jerry. What does that have to do with him managing a team?
It's his buddy.
Those are young players. They're starting to trying to transition, young team, a young vibe, young energy. And then you bring in a 78-year-old. He's 78, right?
Well, he's 76 years old.
76-year-old.
What does that got to do with anything, Lauren?
How is he going to relate to these players? And you know his stance on the Colin Kaepernick situation.
Well, he just told you. He said, hey, wait a minute. I got a World Series championship ring here.
50 years ago?
He said, hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. I'm a Hall of Famer. Okay? I know baseball inside and out.
Is he going to be able to connect with this locker room?
What does connect mean when you say that?
Get the best out of him. Are they going to listen to him?
He has coaches, too.
Again, he just said, I'm a World Series champion. I'm a Hall of Famer. If these players who are on the White Sox roster, if they can't connect with him, they either don't need to be in the game or they need to be playing for another team.
So you support the hire?
I'm a Jerry Riles.
You just had the old coach so bad. You would have picked anybody, Jerry. You was his number one fan.
Well, I probably would have.
You hated the guy.
I'm a Tony La Russa guy, too. I like Tony La Russa.
So you didn't have a problem with his Colin Kaepernick comments? And you don't think that he's a little out of touch for him to even go there?
Well, that was 4 years ago when Colin Kaepernick first took the position. But he changed. Hey, this is what I tell people.
Or did he say what he had to say? Come on.
I think it's a combination of the two. I think he changed, and I think he said what he had to say. Okay. I think that initially there were a lot of people that felt that Colin Kaepernick was wrong in his position because they simply didn't understand. They didn't know the reason behind it, and they didn't really understand it. And so that's why I think at that time, many people took offense to what he was doing. I think over the 4-year time frame, when everything started to unravel and unfold before our eyes, I'm sure many of our listeners, I'm sure many people who were opposed to Colin Kaepernick, as well as Tony La Russa, said, hey, wait a minute. You know what? This guy had a position, and I was out of line. Now you got the great coach, Mike Ditka, and, of course, Brian Urlacher, who still don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
So
but Mike Ditka,
I don't think Tony La Russa, to answer your question, fits that bill. I think Tony La Russa is open-minded enough and understands the circumstances and the situations that unfolded over the past 4 years and say, you know what, this kid was right. And a lot of people said that. Well, a lot of people said,
but a lot of people didn't stand up in his position and say something like he said. He didn't. That's not even his sport. He didn't have to go there.
But what the one thing that athletes do, Lauren, regardless of whatever the sport may be, athletes, coaches, they stick together. Each league is a fraternity in its own right. The National Football League, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, they're a fraternity in their own right. But when you're a professional athlete, that's a big fraternity, and they all are in support of one another. And if they did, in my opinion, didn't understand the full cause of what Colin Kaepernick was trying to get across as far as his message was concerned, hey, man, take that up. Because there were players that say, hey, man, take that up on your own time. This is our livelihood.
Jerry, Lauren, there are only two things in Jerry Reinsdorf's mind, none of the things we just mentioned. Number one, he wanted to correct a big error, the biggest error he ever made, he said. And number two, he wants to win a World Series. So all the other things aside, those are the two goals. And any other factor, was not in his consciousness. So,
and if you take away the DUIs as far as Tony La Russa is concerned, if you take away the comments regarding Colin Kaepernick 4 years ago, what he said, Tony La Russa is an outstanding baseball mind. The guy's an outstanding baseball mind.
Okay.
And here's the deal: as far as making a connection with the players in the locker room, again, Lauren, this guy's one of the best in the business. And if a Tim Anderson can't learn from Tony La Russa, is a Jose Abreu can't learn from a Tony La Russa as far as how to play the games between the stripes, there's something wrong there, in my opinion.
Now, Dan, I want to ask you, why he's been out the league for several years. He's 76 years old. He's coming back. Put yourself in his position.
Put yourself in there.
You want to come back and I don't care about the air and these personal issues.
At the age factor, let's look at Dusty Baker, okay? If you want to look at common age.
But Dusty Baker wasn't out that long.
I know, but I mean, you're talking about the age. So he's a little bit younger, but it's a similar age. Madden, there are others that are in that seem to be able to relate to the players that are in their 70s, and if they're not, then there are coaches too, that can help with that. But La Russa, does have gravitas with regard to having been successful, so that would probably perk up somebody's ears, wouldn't you think?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Who do you think the White Sox should have gone for?
Yeah, that one just, and I, of course, I heard them saying his name, and I just, to me, there were other people I thought were more qualified, but all of that personal stuff and then I started thinking about the Bulls and all that stuff, and it's just a bad taste in my mouth in terms of Jerry trying to right his wrongs and bringing, something that happened 50,000 years ago into it, and then, with the Colin Kaepernick stuff on top of it, now the DUI. Jerry and Dan, it just seems like too much.
Really?
It seems like too much to me. Like, come on. How many chances are you going to give him? Like, what else?
Who, Jerry Riles?
No, well, him
how
too,
many chances you going to give who?
LaRusso. I mean,
Tony LaRusso?
Yeah, I just feel like it was 1, 2, 3. The age and all that, him being out, and then the Colin Kaepernick comments, and then, all the situation with him and Jerry and him trying to, right his wrong. And then we got the DUI that came out.
Yeah,
and,
you know what? I think the DUI was very, very serious in the fact that the White Sox, and again, I think Rick Hahn and Kenny, they tried to probably advise Jerry Reinsdorf, hey, man, we don't want to deal with this. The same thing with A.J. Hinch as far as the cheating is concerned with the Houston Astros. I think they had some serious discussions as far as, hey, the repercussions that's going to manifest from this hire. Do we want to go down that road, and can we handle going down that road? And I think Jerry Reinsdorf, at the end of the day, like Marvel has said, hey, you know what? Listen, this is one of my best friends, one of my good friends, and I got to correct something that happened many years ago. But I also want to win a World Series championship before the good Lord calls me home. And so he said, hey, you know what? It's my team. I put this all you guys in position. I believe this is the best guy to get me to the mountaintop, and I'm going to do it. Now, as far as correcting a wrong is concerned, it was wrong for the White Sox, in my opinion, to hire Ricky Renteria in the first damn place. But I understood why they did that, because they were trying to develop these young players that they had in their years earlier. And congratulations to Ricky Renteria for being named he was runner-up as far as manager of the year for the American League. So congratulations to him. His work is done. He got paid for it. But as far as correcting a wrong regarding Jerry Reinsdorf, he felt that, hey, this is what I believe, this is what I want, this is my team, and this is what I'm going to do. Now it's going to be interesting to see, and the White Sox put out a statement that said we're going to wait to see what transpires as far as the outcome of the situation is. And Marvelous, to start the show, you opened up a great question and said, what's the procedure as far as penalty? And I don't know the state of Arizona. We know that Charles Barkley got pulled over or whatever for a DUI or whatever a few years ago, and he had to go in the tent for like 30 days or 60 days. Mark Grace, I think he had some problems also in Arizona, and he had to, take care of some business as well. So it still remains to be seen. It's going to be interesting. I tell you this. As long as we've been listening to sports, following sports, and observing sports, at the end of the day, winning heals all wounds.
Yes.
Winning heals all wounds. And let's hope that the good Lord, gets us through this pandemic, and we get a 162-game regular season baseball schedule in 2021, and let the cards fall where they may. But I honestly, I truly believe that Tony La Russa, he certainly knows how to control a clubhouse. And I believe these young players, they listen to upper management, they do a little bit of homework and research, they'll see that Tony La Russa knows the game of baseball. And what they need to do is go out there and apply and execute.
Okay.
And I think that we'll have a World Series championship in Chicago on the South Side within the next couple of years. I truly believe that.
Okay, we'll see.
I truly believe that. But I wanted to ask this question before we go, and we got the great Bruce Aaron on our hotline to join us. I want to ask this question regarding Tony La Russa, because I know, hey, listen, when the story broke, Lauren and Marvelous, and I asked Marvelous before the show started, Tony La Russa got pulled over. I don't know how many cocktails he had. I don't know how much he was partying. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know. Tony La Russa was toasted. And I don't want to make light of it or anything of that nature, but Tony La Russa told the cops, hey, look at my ring. Look at my ring.
He tried
I'm a Hall of Famer. And it brought to my mind, because I know there are a lot of guys out there And you shouldn't be drinking and driving. There's no question about it. It's a serious matter. But I know there are a lot of guys out there over the years who've been pulled over and the cops question them. And I just love to hear some of the stories that guys have given to get out of a ticket. And I'll share. I'll be the first to share. And I'm not proud of it. Why are you laughing at me? Lauren, why are you over there laughing at me?
Go ahead.
I'm not proud of it. And this was many moons ago, back in my beer drinking days. Mm-hmm. But on Friday nights, here in Chicago, BMX. You remember the old BMX? You don't remember old BMX? WBMX. They play house music. Oh man, it's the best. Maybe it was a Friday night or Saturday night, but any place, they would house music. So my boys and I, we get ready to go out, had the house music going. And so while you're getting ready, while you're primping, Marvelous, you may have a beer or two. Yeah. I was drinking Heineken back then, not Pabst Blue Ribbon. But so you have a couple beers or whatever. So I get in the car and I'm driving down Willow Avenue in Glenview. Maybe about 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And the cop is trailing me, which is, black man in the northern suburbs, it's not unusual. Mm-hmm. So I'm going, what the hell? So he pulls me over. Young cop, young white cat. He goes, hey, where you going? I go, I'm going to my buddy's house. He lives in Evanston. We're getting ready to go out. He goes, oh, okay. He said, have you been drinking tonight, sir? I go, you know what? I had a couple beers. I had a couple beers. Yikes. He said, okay. He said, I want you to be careful. I want you to be safe out there. I goes, yes, sir, officer. He goes, you know what I want you to do for me? I go, no, officer, I don't. He goes, I want you to say the ABCs for me. God. Lauren, he stumped me. He stumped me. I said the ABCs. You know what I did? Because he caught me off guard with that. You know what I did? No. I started singing A, B, C, D. He started laughing. He goes, get out of here and drive safely.
That's what he asked you to do?
Yeah, he said, get out of here and drive safely. So when Tony La Russa said, when it came out that he said, hey, look at my ring, I know, God, listen, you do whatever you can to get out of it. You get out of it. You got out of it. When Charles Barkley got stopped and the police, we all know the story. It's public. He one of his girls, he would take care of him, and the cop called him, and he was like, hey, dude, it's the best I ever had. It's the best I ever had. And the cop laughed, but he said, hey, I got to take you in because it's indecent exposure. You can't do those sort of things. But I digress, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry.
Back to La Russa. The fact of the matter is he managed the Cardinals to the 2011 World Series championship, then retired. He actually managed the 2012 All-Star game. Yeah, believe it or not, he came back as the representative for the National League World Series champion. So 10 years is 10 years, but I don't think he's forgotten everything, even with advanced age.
Again, it's up to the White Sox and the example they want to set for their front office people, the example they want to set for their fan base, and the fact that it happened in February. Yeah. Right? The fact that it happened in February, and you talk about his age, Lauren, he's 76 years of age. I don't know when he turned 76, but he's 75, 70. Maybe he was out celebrating his birthday. I don't know. But the fact that a 76-year-old man is not responsible enough to know that he's had one too many, and for him not to call an Uber or whatever to to take care of that is irresponsible. It really is irresponsible, and it's surprising that Tony La Russa would put himself in that position, among others who may have been on the road during that time. Mm-hmm. You know what? 773-763-9278 is our number. 773-763-WCPT. It's the Rewind Sports 60, the fastest hour in sports conversation. We want to get into some Bears conversation because the Bears are kicking off against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football against, I lost my train of thought there, but they're kicking off on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings, and they need some help. We played some cups to start the show off with Matt Nagy. Finally, maybe you listen to the show, Lauren. Maybe you listen to the show, but he's finally turned over the reins as far as play calling is concerned, and the great Lori Lightfoot has been calling for it. We've been calling for it, and I guess he finally got the message.
Is Nick Foles the answer? We're going to see once they get out on the field and start putting it together on the offense. But the inconsistency of Trubisky over these last few years, it's just even in the year that we had a great run, what you saw, I think, last year was the inconsistent offense. It wasn't producing. I thought the play calling was very pedestrian.
One of the things that we've been discussing all week is, you guys have talked about is the play calling, and I just wanted to let everybody know that, I made the decision to go ahead and pass up the play calling, and I'm going to give it to Bill Lazor.
He's on our TR60 hotline, ladies and gentlemen. He joins us every Sunday on the Bears postgame. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, the Bears are entertaining, as I told you. Monday Night Football hosting the Minnesota Vikings over on the lakefront. He's number 51 in the program, ladies and gentlemen. He's number 1 in our hearts. He's on our TR60 hotline. He's the great Bruce Heron. Bruce, how are you, man?
I'm doing fine, Jerry. How you guys doing?
Fine. We're doing okay. You're doing okay. Hey, Bruce, I made a confession to the listening audience here in the great city of Chicago by saying, and again, it was many, many moons ago, but I had a couple beers before heading out to meet up with my buddies. The police in Glenview pulled me over, asked me where I was going, and then he promptly asked me to say the ABCs, and he stopped me with the question, so I had to sing the lullaby, A, B, C, D, E, F, D. But everything was fine, everything was good, and we just don't condone drinking and driving because it's very bad, it's irresponsible, and Tony La Russa did not set a great example at the age of 75 or 76 years of age when it happened, and the White Sox brass have taken a hit from the fan base because of the hire. When you heard that news, what did you think of Jerry Reinsdorf giving the reins, the keys, so to speak, to Tony La Russa to run this ball club in 2021?
Well, I tell you, I couldn't believe it when I first saw it. I don't know. Tony's been out of the game a while, and to be 75 plus years old, I think that anybody, depending on regardless of your age or anything, if you've got something to offer, you can bring a championship or help bring a championship to an organization. I don't think we should owe somebody, against the thing just because of their age. But my deal is this: is that there's so much talent out there. I mean, I'm the kind of person I'm sick and tired of seeing all of these coaches that are retreads. I mean, just one job after another, and you've got a lot of younger talent out there that can do a heck of a job if they just give them a chance. And I don't know. I wasn't all excited about it. I'm a big White Sox fan too, but this move, I'm not going to say it's a bad move, but I think there's some other things that could have been.
Yeah, I agree with you. There could have been some other decisions made, some other moves made, but when Jerry Reinsdorf was fired by, at the time, General Manager Ken Hawk Harrelson, and back in '86, Jerry Reinsdorf was kind of fresh, as far as the ownership was concerned. And the one thing about Jerry that we've learned over the years is that he is very loyal and dedicated to his staff. And Jerry is like, hey, if I believe in you and I put you in position to do your job, I'm not a micromanager guy. I'm going to step back and let you do your job. Win or lose, succeed or fail, I'm going to let you do it. And unfortunately, at times, it's to a fault because the fan base who supports, whether it's the Bulls or the Black or the White Sox, we have to endure these poor decisions or bad moves that are made. And I love Jerry Reinsdorf for the fact that he is a loyal owner, but it kind of irks me sometimes that he is, because he can make some different moves or some quicker moves to get us to where we need to be, as opposed to, the loyalty aspect of it. But I get it. But again, this is his buddy. And his buddy has an impressive resume, and our buddies, whether it's your buddy, my buddy, Lauren's buddy, Marvel's buddy, all of us, if we have buddies and they have a pretty impressive resume, we overlook the deficiencies. We do. We overlook it and say, hey, man, okay, I'm going to give you a pass this time. Don't let that crap happen again. And you move on. And I think Jerry expects that to happen with the fan base in the city of Chicago, because I don't know if you heard me on hold, but I said, hey, winning cures everything. It cures everything. If the White Sox win, they get a World Series championship, they win. It's a blemish. It's a blemish, But at the end of the day, it's all about the brass, and that's the championship.
Right. It's, you know what, my position is, I mean, we can say whether we like the move or not, but at the end of the day, it's only a bad move if they don't win.
Yep.
They don't win, it's a bad move.
That's it. So as far as a bad move is concerned, we see, the Bears have made some changes, and Matt Nagy is eating crow, so to speak, because when the Bears are 5-1, he's like, hey, enjoy it. And the Bears are 5-2. Hey, come on, we're still 5-2. Now they're on the verge of going 5-5, losing 3 straight games. They entertained the Minnesota Vikings in Monday Night Football. They made the change as far as quarterback was concerned. We haven't seen any production there. They made the change. Finally, this week, Matt Nagy said, I am not going to call plays anymore. I'm going to hand over the keys. What did you think of the decision for Matt Nagy to finally turn the play calling over to Coach Laser?
Well, you know what? I think it was a good move for him to do that. It was. I think the offense coordinator should have always been calling the plays. Because as a head coach, you've got to be engaged at every facet of the game, and to me, it's hard to be personally responsible for calling plays, managing the defense, managing the offense, managing special teams, overseeing all that when you're so entrenched in just the offensive play calling. So I think it was well overdue, and I think we don't know what the outcome of this game is going to be. I mean, Minnesota's been playing really well the last 3 or 4 weeks. Their running game is, my goodness, man, it's off the chart right now.
Bruce,
so I think our team's really going to have to step up and be prepared to play against the run.
You're not kidding. Yeah, Bruce, you're not kidding. This Dan, we did a good job against Henry and with the Titans, but this guy, Dalvin Cook, had 206 yards last week. So that's going to be quite a challenge. And I mean, we've done well against the rush, and the defense has been the key. And with Laser taking over with no Montgomery, I think I don't know what he's going to come up with.
Right. So yeah. We'll see what happens. I just think that our offensive line is in such a mess that if the offensive output is going to be based on how well the offensive line can pull it together.
Hey, Bruce, Lauren here. When you talk about the O-line, I was thinking about it myself. This is the time of year where the great teams, the teams that are going to be there when it's all said and done, they're starting to peak now. And you look at that O-line, and it seems to me that they're actually regressing. Allowed 12 sacks in the last 3 games. Talk to me a bit more about the O-line and what is it going to take for them to be able to protect Foles? Because honestly, it just seems like he doesn't have the time to let plays develop. What are you hoping to see from the O-line against the Vikings on Monday night?
You know what? I'm not sure how much they can do. I mean, we're still missing a couple of starters out of the offensive line. When the season first started, I didn't think the offensive line was our strongest weapon to begin with, and they're just not aggressive to me. I'm a defensive guy, and looking at the offensive line, it's just really a little bit too passive. So that's something they're going to have to really address this next offseason. But getting through the next few games, the offensive line, they're going to have to. They're going to need some help. They're going to need some help probably from the tight end. They're going to need some help probably from the fullback in the offensive backfield to help split up just to give the quarterback an extra second and a half to make a decision to pull the trigger. You asked me what the offensive line is going to do more than what they've done. I mean, if it's the same players that we have last week, and I think also that there are 1 or 2 of the guys that are probably playing out of position.
Right.
They were tinkering with some things, with moving a guy from guard to tackle and from the right side to the left side, and so they're going to need to find the piece out of what they have that's going to give them the best chance to give the quarterback an extra second and a half to throw the ball.
We're on with the great Bruce Heron, former Bear linebacker, 5 years on the lakefront playing for the Beloved, joining us on our Rewind Sports 60 TR60 hotline. You know, Bruce, you talk about offensive line, and we're going to be joined by Sam Acho shortly, who played with the Beloved as well. He's on our TR60 hotline. We'll get him on in a second. But you talked about, you know, a couple of the Bears' offensive linemen playing out of position. You know, it's unfortunate, but this has been happening for quite some time. Remember when Kyle Long, he just retired, about a season or two ago, but when Kyle Long, I mean, I don't know how many, I think he played almost every position on the offensive line with the Chicago Bears, you know, whether it was due to injuries or, you know, lack thereof, or whatever the case may be. But it seems like it's a recurring pattern for the Chicago Bears. And when you talk about the type of help that they're going to need during the off season, Cody Whitehair is questionable as far as the Monday night game is concerned against the Minnesota Vikings. You know, we know Robert Massey Jr. has been out. He's had some problems. We know that Charles Leno Jr., you know, he's had some issues. But those are the three core offensive linemen for the Chicago Bears. Why do we think that the Bears, and no offense to those guys, but why do we think that the Bears brass, i.e. Ryan Pace, would be able to make a good decision as far as evaluating talent to bring in some offensive linemen that's going to help, you know, get to the next level?
I don't know, man. They really haven't put a big effort into bringing in offensive linemen in the last couple of drafts. And I mean, we get some mid-round picks for some late-round picks, but you know, the top tier talent out of college, you know, you're going to have to spend a first, second, or you know, maybe go down to third round picks in order to find some of the top tier talent. Now, why they haven't done that, I think they pretty much thought that they could get by with what they have, and I don't know. I've never been a big fan of both of our tackles. I mean, they've been okay, but they just haven't been the type of studs that you really want to build a team around. And I think going forward, I think the team realized they're going to have to address the offensive line more so than anything else.
Yeah, they certainly have to do that. And it's an interesting point. And unfortunately, David Montgomery is not going to be playing tomorrow because he's under concussion protocol. But it's interesting because one reason David Montgomery got so much pub and so much ink is the fact that he was running roughshod at Iowa State, and the offensive line that he was running behind, well, at the time, they were terrible. I'm almost thinking that offensive line he was running behind in college is probably better than the offensive line he's running behind right now. But I mean, it's I swear to you, man. And
well, maybe they're available.
Who knows? Hey, Bruce, have you ever had the opportunity to meet and talk with Sam Acho? Former outside linebacker?
I have not talked to Sam. No, I haven't.
Hey, Bruce Harris, say hello to Sam Acho. Sam.
Sam's the ball.
Hey Sam. How you doing?
Say hello to the great Bruce Heron. He played back in the day with the great Walter Payton. May he rest in peace. But Bruce Heron was a fixture on the lakefront on Sunday afternoons wearing the beloved 51 for the beloved Chicago Bears. Sam Acho. Meet Bruce Heron. What's up, fellas?
Pleasure meeting you, Sam.
It's good to be on. Yeah, good to meet you as well. Good to be on with you.
Hey, Sam, thank you for taking some time out, joining us on the Rewind Sports 6. We appreciate your precious time. We'll get a chance to talk about your latest book that just was released back in October. But joining the conversation, man, we you know, the Bears, they're looking to end this 3-game losing streak, and it's not going to be an easy task tomorrow night over at Soldier Field against the Minnesota Vikings. And Dalvin Cook is just, I mean, the guy is just running. He's going nuts. But the bigger question that we've been throwing around is this offensive line for the Chicago Bears, man. What can you add to the conversation regarding what you've been able to witness and the direction you think we need to go to try to make some improvements during this short period of time? We got like 7 games left in the regular season. What is your assessment on the offensive line for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, well, I think anybody who knows football knows that sometimes your team has strengths and weaknesses. And when you do have those weaknesses, you have to find a way to overcome those weaknesses. So speaking specifically of the offensive line, if you have injuries along the offensive line or players who are playing out of position or players who aren't playing up to standard, well, there's no chance to get new players, right? The new players are already on teams. The good players, quote unquote, they're already on teams. So what you have to do is you have to change your philosophy. We talked on it earlier a little bit. You have to start keeping tight ends in the block. Cole Kmet, great receiving tight end, but he's got to stay in block, right? You got Jimmy Graham. He's an unbelievable receiver, but sometimes you got to keep these guys in to block. David Montgomery as well. Obviously, he's out for tomorrow, but Lamar Miller, who's playing tomorrow, you're going to have to keep 6, 7 guys in to block if you are going for those deep shot plays. Now, obviously, we talked about Laser being the new offensive coordinator for this game and Lamar Miller being the new running back. I think it's actually going to be really, really positive for the Bears tomorrow night. 2 reasons. Number one, David Montgomery not being in, I think, is actually going to be a major benefit to this team. The Bears have been committed to proving and showing that David Montgomery is not only the guy, but their guy, right? And his running style is different than Lamar Miller's. Lamar Miller is on the edge. He's fast. He's, tosses, and getting him on the edge is a major benefit. So I think with a new offensive coordinator in Bill Lazor, you're going to see a lot more plays on the edge, a lot more 6- and 7-man protection, and a lot more protecting of the quarterback.
Hey, Sam, Lauren Cox here. Interesting that you say that because, people have been calling for a change in the coaching. It was a lot of, Nagy was receiving a lot of bad blood and a lot of blowback from his coaching, and he did decide to go ahead and hand over the play calling. What did you think about that move in terms of handing over the play calling, specifically during this part of the season? The playoffs are approaching. This is a must-win game with the Minnesota Vikings. What did you think about Matt Nagy handing over those play calling?
Yeah, well, Lauren, I think it's the only move you really could have made, right? You've changed quarterbacks, and it proved to no avail. Nothing changed. Right? You've switched people on the offensive line. Nothing's changed. So what more can you ask than to change play calling? And so I think it was a good move for Matt Nagy he didn't give Lazor the keys to the car yet. He said you could borrow it, take a test drive for a little bit. We'll see how it goes on Monday, and then we'll go from there. He didn't completely give up play calling duties, but I think this change will be the spark that the team needs to beat Minnesota, to get a bye week, get a couple weeks of training with this new offensive coordinator, and then go back and find a way to, I would love to say compete against Green Bay, but you need to find a way to beat Green Bay so you can win the division.
Well, you know what, Sam Macho on our TR60 hotline, before Marvelous jump in, I got to tell you, man, I wish I'd talked to you maybe yesterday, because, I'm in a confidence pool. I'm in a confidence pool, 1 to 16. And, the confidence of, and I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I put a 16 down on the Minnesota Vikings. I didn't think the Bears had a chance, man. But after talking with you, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I may have made a mistake. Did I make a mistake, Sam Macho?
No, I think you made the right decision.
Thank you.
The right decision. Obviously, if the Bears wouldn't have made a change at coordinator, and also even now with Montgomery being out, now this new wrinkle at running back, they would have had no shot. They would have no shot. Dalvin Cook has been cooking these last couple of weeks. He has been balling. So defensively, yeah, we talk about how great our defense is, but we've been giving up some big plays, so Dalvin Cook is going to get his yards, point blank, period. He's been cooking. Offensively, you need something, some kind of spark, some kind of something. Usually you have that in special teams with Cordell Patterson, but now a lot of teams are starting to understand that you must not kick to Cordell Patterson, so they're not kicking to him anymore, which is positive. But then positive for your other team, but the Bears have to find some kind of spark. And an offensive coordinator switch and also a new running back could be the spark that the Bears need to actually make it a game.
So this is Dan here. So what, did they put Patterson in the backfield the whole game then, or what do you think the plan is?
No. That's the worst decision you could do. So Cordell Patterson as a returner is phenomenal. I played against him year in and year out. I played against him when I was with the Bears. He was with the Vikings. I played against him when he was with the Patriots. As a returner, he is phenomenal. As a running back, he's not a running back. He's a specialist. He's a returner, and he's the best in the game. He set records, right? He's going to go down in history as a returner. But just because someone's a phenomenal returner doesn't make them a phenomenal running back or a tight end or a receiver. It just doesn't work that way. And so, no, you're not going to put Cordell Patterson in the backfield. That's not the way to go. You use Lamar Miller. Use your running backs, right? Use him. right? Lamar Miller back in Miami, if y'all put on the film, this dude can ball. This dude could play. He went to the U, he balled at the U, then he played in Miami. So maybe with this new coach, you can say, okay, you know what? I understand we like downhill running. We love the power plays. We love people call them the drill play, right? We love these inside zones. Let's get the ball on the edge. That's what Minnesota does a great job of. If you watch Minnesota play, not only this year, but years past, they love getting the ball out on the edge. Crack tosses, sweeps. They love doing that. So I think Laser will actually incorporate that because of his personnel.
So real quick, and we're pleased to be joined by two former Chicago Bears outside linebackers, number 51 Bruce Herron and number 93 Sam Archer on our TR60 hotline. Gentlemen, and Bruce, you go first, but gentlemen, if you guys are the Minnesota Vikings, whether you're lining up playing against the Bears tomorrow night or you're a defensive coordinator, how do you scheme against this Bears offense to win your third straight game moving forward? And of course, and more importantly, get a division victory against the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. Bruce, you start.
Shucks, simple. I would just bring pressure. Every passing situation, I would bring pressure because the offensive line hasn't been doing their job, or hasn't been doing a sufficient enough job. I would just bring pressure, man. I would bring pressure every chance I got. Every chance I got. I would do it.
Sam?
Yeah. See, I would take a completely different approach. I would rush four, and here's why. So the Minnesota D-line is phenomenal, right? They pride themselves. Mike Zimmer and their defense, they pride themselves on rushing forward. And Hunter, really good player. Even young players, Fadio Denebo, really good player. Their D-line is really, really good. And so why bring pressure when you could beat the guys one-on-one? Beat your guys one-on-one, rush four, right? Keep 7 guys back in coverage, and you're still going to get home. So if I'm the Vikings, the way I win this game, I keep the ball out of Cordell Patterson's hands, find a way, so make sure you don't kick it to him, number one. And then number two, offensively, make sure that Dalvin Cook cooks like he's been doing. And then on the defensive side of the ball, when you're trying to stop the Bears, rush four and win your one-on-ones. Period. If you can't win your one-on-ones against this O-line, then you shouldn't be out there.
Sounds good. So, Sam, I want to switch gears a bit, and we know that you're a former NFL linebacker, speaker, podcaster, and humanitarian, but you did write a book, Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes, and it's interesting because I have a 12-year-old, and we were talking today because he was doing some things for the Constitution for his Boy Scout merit badge, and he was asking me about hypocrisy, and I was telling him that hypocrisy is when you proclaim a belief but your actions and behavior doesn't match up to it. And so in your book you talk about inauthenticity, and I really wanted to get your opinion in terms of what made you tackle that subject of being inauthentic. It's a concept that I hadn't even considered until I really started to do work and really start to explore presence and awareness. So what led you to tackle this issue of inauthenticity?
Yeah, for me, I think just living in this world for the 30 some odd years I've lived, I understand a lot of people live a lot longer than I have, but I've seen it not only on the football field, but in society. People love to pretend. We love to put on masks, not the literal ones, right? I know we're locking down Chicago, the figurative masks we wear to try and fit in, and whether it's because of fear or shame or doubt or anxiety, we put on these masks. And one thing, and I did the same thing. I would hide. I would pretend I'd be in NFL locker rooms, and people know I'm a Christian, right? And I would get mad. I would get in a fight or something. They would say, "Well, Sam, I thought Christians were supposed to get mad. I thought is that a curse word I just heard?" Right? And all of a sudden, I would hide. I would try and act like someone I wasn't, right, to try and fit in. Just as by way of example, I also got my MBA. I got my MBA from the #1 international business school in the world, but I didn't tell anybody because I thought that wasn't the thing that people wanted to hear from an NFL linebacker. And so what ends up happening with all that hiding and pretending is eventually your body keeps the score, right? Eventually you become someone that you're not. And I didn't want that for me. I didn't want that for my family. I don't want that for anyone. And so this book really talks about the freedom that comes from when you are you. Because I feel like when you're you, the world changes, right? When you're you, God gets the glory. When you're you, the people around you benefit. When you're you, the world around you thrives. But when you pretend, pretending may get you in a certain door, but being you would open up doors you could never imagine.
You know what, Sam? That's a great story. Thank you so very much for sharing that. And I do want to ask you, where'd you get your MBA from?
Yeah, so I got it from the Thunderbird School of Global Management, which it's the #1 international MBA in the world. It's actually part of Arizona State now, but it worked out because it was in Phoenix, Arizona. I was playing for the Cardinals, and it worked out perfectly.
You know what? It's interesting because we have a lot more in common than I knew. I realized that you're 32 years of age. You were born September 6th, 1988, and of course you have your MBA business. And I'm proud to say that my son shares the same age. He's 32 years of age. His birthday is September 5th. A day before you, 1988, and he received his master's from the great school of Northwestern School of Kellogg Business School. So I was really humbled and pleasantly surprised when I read that and discovered that. So there's no wonder why you're doing extraordinary work in your life. The fact that you're a Christian and as important, you're an educated individual. So kudos to you, congratulations to you, and thank you so very much for sharing a part of your life with not only with me personally and our listening audience, but to the world, my good friend.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Anybody, and that's what, for me, like this, playing in the NFL was great. But this book, I think, is going to change people's lives. Like, I believe it at the deepest part of my heart that so many people are living inauthentically. And they don't know how to be real and how to be vulnerable. They don't understand the benefits of being real. It's almost like this huge weight is lifted off of your shoulders. And so anyone who wants to learn more about me or about the book, just go to SamAchoBook.com, SAMACHO Book.com, or type in Let the World See You. That's the title of the book, Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes. It's available anywhere books are sold.
Hey, Bruce Herring. Hey, man, this is one reason why we have you on. It's one reason why we have Sam on. It's one reason why we have the greatest sports show in the city of Chicago, the Rewind Sports 60, because we're real sports, real talk, just plain real. Bruce, that's how we roll, brother.
Man, yes, it is, man. I just want to say, Sam, it's a pleasure to sit here and listen to you. I've always said, even when I was playing ball, that the best thing that an NFL player could do was to make sure that he got his education. Because, and I tell kids all the time when I talk to them at schools, either elementary schools or junior high schools or high schools, say, listen, no coach wants a dumb football player. No coach wants a dumb football player. You have to be smart. You have to get your education. And you know, and my heart is smiling right now listening to you talk, and you just you're a great example of what a true athlete is all about. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Bruce. Thank you so much. Thank you for paving the way.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. It is the fastest hour in sports conversation. Always a pleasure. You're definitely friends of the program. Hey, predictions for tomorrow night game, Bears, Vikings. Sam, you first.
Yeah, I think the Bears lose by 7, maybe 28-21.
Bruce?
You know what? I think that every game the Bears have played, they've had a chance to win. I'm gonna pick the Bears 23-19.
Boom! Wow. Wow. God bless you, man. You're drinking the Kool-Aid for sure. Hey, Sam, real quick again.
I think our defense has got to call some turnovers and score.
Yeah, they got to
do that. We'll be just fine.
They're gonna have a long night, bro. They're gonna have a long night tomorrow night. Hey, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Sam, real quick again, if people want to get a hold of the book, how do they find it?
Yeah, if you want to connect with me or get a hold of the book, go to SamAchoBook.com. SAMACHO Book.com. It's also available everywhere books are sold. Amazon, Target, Audible, audiobook, whatever you want. Type in Let the World See You, and I cannot wait to hear what you all think about this book. I'm so excited.
We'll get you back. Sam Acho, Bruce Herring, 2 former outside linebackers for your Chicago Bears. Thank you so very much, guys. Stay safe, enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you.
Wow.
Isn't it beautiful? We get 2 guys together. and they love each other.
Yeah. Well,
Go Bears.
Hey, we got
Bear
3
love.
people. We got 4 people together here. We love each other. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Hey.
Real quick before we go, Serenello's. I said I talked to my good friend Chef Michael Bonner. We know what's going on in the state of Illinois and the resurgence as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. I think we've hit the second phase. But hey, Sunday brunch. That's where we started with them on Sunday brunch. They got it back up and running. Sunday brunch from 11 to 2. Curbside. It's only $20.95. Check them out. And of course, if you haven't made plans for Thanksgiving, they have the Thanksgiving dinner as well. It's $44.95 a person. $44.95 a person. Closing thoughts, guys.
Bears win. We need it. This is the playoffs.
Yeah, we
the
need it.
Vikings are on a roll,
Lord,
and that
Lord, we need it.
Whew, if we win, if we lose, it's gonna be bad news.
Yeah, they again, the sweet spot, I've always said they need to score 20 points, and I don't know if they can. And fact check, LaRusso just turned 76 on October 4th, so he was 75 when he was pulled over.
Unbelievable. Don't drink and drive, ladies and gentlemen.
And wear a mask.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to Lauren Cox. Fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you. Thanks to the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and of course our fabulous producer, Devin Teagle.
Devin.
Jerry Riles, the Rewind Sports 60. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy your week. Go Bears. Talk to you next Sunday.
To the ball game, Hall of Famer Andre Dawson.
All right. Let's hear it from the greatest fans ever. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back Forest Root. Root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hey, let's get some runs. Thank you.
Still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? All the land of the free and the home of the
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast with yours truly and, of course, the Honorable Dr. Chad Droma. Doc, how are you this week?
Doing great, Jerry. How about you?
Doing fantastic. The winter temperatures have certainly hit us in the Midwest. We had about 7 to 8 days of great weather, 70s, close to 80 degrees. But, of course, reality has set in, and now we're hovering between 30, 40, 50-degree temperatures over the next few days. But other than that, getting ready for the holidays as far as Thanksgiving and, of course, Christmas around the corner. But all in all, feeling fantastic physically, mentally. We're always continuing to work and grow. And you help us improve our knowledge regarding sports medicine. So thank you for sure. You know, Doc, many of us who've been big fans of the sports world, of course, we've been really happy and pleased that the National Football League has been able to get to 9 weeks of play this fall season, which many of us didn't think was going to happen because of the pandemic and COVID. But lo and behold, we've made it to the 9th week, halfway point as far as the National Football League is concerned. The Bears are struggling, going in the opposite direction. They got a Monday night affair, but you know, the things that go along with the sports, aside from the pandemic, are injuries, and we see with the Chicago Bears the number of injuries that the offensive linemen have sustained, and even a backup quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, with the shoulder injury, what we talked about last week. But we haven't had an opportunity to touch on the special teams and, more importantly, the kicking aspect of the game. And I'd like to say Sierra Santos, but Cairo Santos is doing a fantastic job as the kicker for the Chicago Bears, replacing Eddie Pinheiro, who won the job last year. And Eddie, as we know, is still out with a groin injury. And, it piques my interest. And, of course, I'm sure many of those who are watching and listening to this fabulous podcast that we do weekly, the groin injury. Tell us a little bit about this injury, because not only professional athletes, they get this, but runners get it, amateur athletes get it. What's the cause of groin injury, and is it preventable?
Yeah, so the groin injury, it's the adductor muscle, ADDUCTOR. It's the muscle in the inner part of the thigh that brings your legs together. It's big. There's several of them, the adductor magnus and adductor longus and other ones. Is it preventable? So here's the thing. So I'm 66, been out there following sports forever. And there has been a sea change in the number of groin and hamstring strains. And as we were discussing before we got on the air, people just didn't used to get these. Now it's very difficult to find an athlete who's been playing for a while that doesn't get one. A lot of times it's speed guys. So the thing with kickers is, the groin muscle for a soccer style, everybody these days is a soccer style kicker. Didn't used to be. Soccer style, it's kind of interesting. It isn't that you can kick the ball any longer. The thought is that you're more accurate. But either way, the groin muscle. So what has happened is that people say, well, gee, if the groin muscle, if the adductor muscle is kind of the key muscle, then we are going to make you a better performer, and we're going to make you less prone to injury by doing two things. We're going to stretch it, and we're going to strengthen it. And I would propose to you that it's a mistake. That the idea, I think that the conditioning programs are entirely at the root of the dramatic increase in hamstring injuries. We were talking before we got in the air. You look at great athletes from Walter Payton, the great Walter Payton, played, I don't know how many years, more than 10, missed one game. And that was the dislocated toe, and he didn't even want to miss it, right? So did he miss a game with a groin or hamstring? No. The great Gale Sayers, before he blew out his knee, did he miss a game? No. Michael Jordan, Karl Malone. Look at all these guys, all these long streaks. None of these people, these injuries used to be pretty much non-existent. Now they're just ubiquitous. And I mean, how many people get, hammy strains? I was reading about is it John Ross, who has the fastest 40 combine number, 4.22, for example. Right. So it's fourth year. People talking about how he might be traded, but these guys, he's a track guy, and he's had, I think, a fair number of these muscle strains. But I mean, think back, Willie Gault, track guy with the Bears, right? One of the fastest guys ever to play. And who was faster than Willie Gault? Willie Gault, when he played, was widely regarded as the second fastest guy in the NFL. Who was the fastest guy? So
Ronaldo Skeets Nehemiah with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, maybe him. But for guys that really played, it's good thought. But Darrell Green with the Redskins, cornerback, played till he was pretty old, 30s maybe, Yeah. So track guys. These guys just didn't used to miss time, And so what I'm saying is just this. And what's interesting about this is And I'm in the industry. I'm in the business. I employ physical therapists. We do these conditioning programs, but we don't do that. And there is really not good evidence that stretching or strengthening prevents injuries. But even more importantly, there isn't really good evidence that it helps performance. So here's what happened. I mean, I have no inside information. I go by what I read in the papers. Carlos Santos kicked this 55-yarder, right? Clutch field goal. Well, that's a pretty long kick, right? Well, Carlos Santos has publicly written he missed a lot of time with a groin, and he said when he came back, he did less. He pushed it less, the groin. So less is more. Now, you could say, well, gee, he's not strengthening it or doing as much, so maybe he's going to lose range. Well, I don't know. He's 55-yarder, and I saw the kick. It would have been good for 56, 57. It's not like it hit the crossbar. So I'd say if you were accurate out to 55, that's pretty good range, right? So what my point is, you don't need to stretch and strengthen, and I'm talking about legs now, to get good performance. Now, I'm talking about speed guys, and I'm not talking about bulk people. So if you're an interior lineman, those guys need to strengthen because they need to be big and they need to be powerful. And if they get hurt, they get hurt. But the thing is, the ability to kick a ball far, the ability to run fast, is based on fast twitch muscle fibers. So there's two kinds of muscle fibers: slow twitch, fast twitch. Type 1 is slow twitch. Type 2 is fast twitch. So red meat and white meat in a chicken. Okay. White meat is fast twitch, and the chicken breast is the wing muscle, so the wings have to beat fast. The dark meat is slow twitch. It's dark because it has hemoglobin, which allows you to get more endurance. So the slow twitch are more endurance, fast twitch are more speed. But here's the point: that is genetically determined. So sprinters are born; they're not made. Maybe at the outside it can affect your speed a little bit, but sprinters, leapers, kickers, they're born, they're not made. You have to choose your parents well, So what I'm saying is that you take somebody who's got fast twitch muscle fibers, just let them run. If you start to work too much to build up their muscles, you just promote injuries. Same with kickers. Now, I will tell you, this position that I'm saying is not a majority position. And the reason it isn't is because there's such a huge industry that's built around building these people up. But I can tell you it's based on negligible science. And if you look at the difference, we've talked about this before, throwers, right? Pitchers used to pitch forever. I think I told you about a conversation I had with Fergie Jenkins. 300 innings every year, never got hurt, right? Now, if guys do 200 innings, they're an Ironman. And they throw a little harder. But the question is, does a couple miles an hour on your fastball or 2 yards on a kick matter? And I would argue that it doesn't. But I think the conditioning just destroys these muscles and these, and these joints. So getting back to the kickers, it's just kind of an interesting thing. So we got these two guys playing musical kickers back and forth, both of them with groin strains. The answer that Carlos Santos came up with is to do less. Just leave it the heck alone. And look at him. Look how well he's doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's certainly doing well, but some would argue and say, well, one reason he's lightening up a little bit or pulling back a little bit is the fact that, and this happens to all of us, where we overcompensate for one side of our body to protect the other side in our mindset. And some would say, well, maybe he's pulling back just a tad bit because he does not want to re-injure that or have that injury occur again. So he's found, fundamental ways or mechanical ways to more or less get the same results. And of course, he's experienced, so he should have some type of understanding of how he should go into kicking a ball. And for instance, he shared recently in an interview the difference between kicking, and we talked about the 55-yarder that he kicked. I think it was against the New Orleans Saints to send the game into overtime. But he talked about the difference of kicking the ball, the height of the ball compared to the distance, meaning a lower trajectory to get more control over the football. So I would imagine that from his entry into the National Football League to I think this is his 8th season now, he's learned something, what we call a veteran, of how to get more results by doing less. What would you say regarding that analogy based on what we know about?
No, you're absolutely right. And the whole point of it is this. The way you get results, you need two things. You need the right genes, you need the right parents, and you need technique. And the only two reasons to condition are, number one, you think if you build up the muscle even more, take a bigger swing even more, you get a little more distance. Or number two, you think it's going to prevent injuries. And what I'm saying is that if you do get more distance, it's negligible and doesn't really matter. And the preventing injuries, I just think doesn't happen.
Hey, so
I think it does the reverse.
So here's the interesting question, because when Eddie Pinheiro, who was the starting kicker, he won the job last year for the Chicago Bears. When it was reported that he had the groin injury, it was back during the summer. There wasn't any preseason, obviously due to the pandemic and everything, but it was projected that he would miss 3 to 5 weeks because of the injury, and meant the first 2 or 3 games at the most. But now, as I stated, starting off this podcast, we're in week 9 of the National Football League, and of course with the bye week, that's 10 weeks out since August. What is the recovery time?
Well,
and does it matter if you're because the Bears told us 3 to 5 weeks, and we're well into 10 weeks now. What is the recovery time?
Well, let me say this. I don't know this for a fact, but it is widely reported that he has lost the job absent an injury to Carlos Santos. So, I just kind of assumed, and I don't know this, that he's probably better now, but they're just keeping him there because they wanted to have, a backup kicker who was healthy. They had Kai Forbath, was that his name? Mm-hmm. Who they tried to stash, and then he was picked up by somebody, San Francisco maybe. So, what I'm saying is the fact that he's on injured reserve doesn't mean he's not healed, actually, because if he does get healed and brought off, he's, I don't think they're giving him the job from what I've read. But to answer your question as to how long it can heal, so I will tell you, it can take a long time. I'm not a big soccer follower, great sport, but there was somebody, man, I can't remember, that I followed the saga of about 7-8 years ago, who went almost 2 years, these chronic muscle strains, and it was like one season, part of another season. So these things can go on for a long time. So he very well could be not recovered. It just all depends on how serious the injury was. And I will tell you, I think it depends upon the rehab program. And, in my world, when I get these injuries, we do actually low-level laser treatments, which have been remarkably effective for this, which actually do help it heal. But we don't do stretching and we don't do strengthening. And there is paradigms out there that say that stretching can help. I don't think it does. I think the muscle is injured, and when you pull on an injured thing, I think you make it worse. So I'm not criticizing those who do this. Maybe I'm wrong. But I would say that my opinion, you cannot go wrong leaving it alone. Actually, a basic core belief of mine also is that Mother Nature rocks. Nature just does a fabulous job of healing us. And in my opinion, you're always better to leave it alone, let nature heal it, unless you as a health provider have overwhelming evidence that you can make it better. And I think all too often, especially in sports medicine, that the athletes are circled by providers who just like dealing with athletes. And there's a great urge to do something. You just can't leave it alone because you should be doing therapy. You should be doing rehab. And I think it's often a mistake. So, my world, it's benign neglect. And we get people back pretty quickly, I think. So, but it's hard to say. Maybe it's not healed. It can take weeks. It can take months. It can take longer.